Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website at holybatcast.com or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Except now it's not Twitter anymore. Now it's X. Me and Jamie were just talking about that. Why is it X? I don't know. But anyway, for now, we're still there. I don't know how long it'll last, but we're there for now. You can find us. If you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a huge thanks to our patrons. You guys are amazing. And so I got to give a shout out to our newest patron, Mr. Kyle C., where it looks like Kyle Cirque. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but Kyle, you're awesome. This has been in the box since last month, so I'm sorry. Thank you for your patience. But yeah, Kyle, thanks for joining the family. Thanks for supporting the show. We appreciate you. So this episode's for you, Kyle. And for everybody out there listening who is a patron, this episode is also for you. Our patrons are amazing, and I hope you guys know how appreciated you are, because you are. What else? You can find all the other shows that are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DeGenova. I'm back, babies. Baby. Yeah, whatever. You can find me on Twitter or on Instagram or on Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DeGenova. I'll tell you what, y'all. I told you I was taking July off, and that month went quick. It didn't even feel like much of a break. I feel like we just did this, but I'm back. I promised you I'd be back. I wasn't going to leave you hanging.
Now, I feel like you said just like a week ago we were going to take a month off, and now here you are like, hey, let's record. And I was like, what?
Yeah, you're like, what happened to the month?
Yeah, exactly.
It just disappeared. That's how it goes. But yes, I am back. We are back. You already heard his name. Jamie Drewley is joining me back. Hey, Jamie.
Hi, how you doing?
You already heard his voice. Did I say I already heard his name? It's also morning, so that always is fun.
Drink more coffee. You'll be fine.
I am, and I'm drinking my pumpkin coffee.
Oh yes, it's almost time.
Starting to ease into it, Anyway, it's good to have you back. It's good to chat with you, Jamie. We'll see if we can remember how to talk into microphones. Hopefully, we can figure this out. But because we took the month off, there's a lot of DC stuff that we haven't talked about, and so I thought this would just be a nice little catch up episode. It's like here's the stuff. Here's what you missed on Glee. And we'll chat about that stuff. And then, as you know, of course, there have been emails. And so we're going to answer some of those. And that's the plan. Great.
I like plans.
You down?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Just got back from Illinois late last night. First thing I'm doing Sunday morning, recording Holy BatCast.
You probably had the shakes the whole time you were going from not doing this.
The break was kind of nice. I'll be honest. I didn't mind it. I hadn't had a break since I started this show.
There's things that you love, like eventually even those you need just a small break from, just to recharge and reset and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I get it.
I mean, I know the recording schedule.
Don't tell my wife I said that.
There, see, same. But yeah, like I know the recording schedule got a little like wonky, like when I moved to China, when I moved back. So I guess those count as breaks, I guess. But yeah, this is the first like intentional one. But anyway, there's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about all that stuff. But before we do that, we have to give a shout out to our pals and sponsors over at Manscaped. So public service announcement, attention all my bearded beasts from stubble to mane. If you didn't already know, Manscaped now sells beard products. You heard it correctly. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming changed the game with their Beard Hedger Pro Kit, and now they're going one step further with their brand new Handyman. It's an electric face shaver for a quick and convenient way to achieve a clean-shaven look. Whether you're looking to sharpen up your neckline or give your face that smooth finish, the Handyman has you covered. So go to manscaped.com and use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. It's time to go from 5 o'clock shady to, yeah, baby. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the Austin Powers voice. It's 2023. The time has passed. But yes, there's a brand new product from Manscaped that they want you to know about. It is the Handyman Electric Face Shaver. I can't wait to get one because right now I have two of their normal, not the Weed Whacker, it's the other one, the lawnmower. I have two of their lawnmowers, one for my face and one for not. And so I'm excited to get one that is designed for the face, because if it's anything like the Weed Whacker and the lawnmower, it's going to be great. And I'll tell you, I hate shaving. I don't know. Do we all? I feel like all men hate shaving.
I'm not into the shaving
It's
thing.
just a pain in the ass. I hate
It
it.
is. It
Um,
sucks.
and so if I can cheat and do it quicker with an electric one, um, I will. And so I love this option. So I'm excited to check out their new handyman. I hope it's great. I'm sure it is. Again, like based on all the other products that we use, they always make great stuff. So yeah, if you're looking for a new face shaver, an electric face shaver, check out Manscaped's new handyman. And please help us out by using that promo code BATSCAPED for getting 20% off and free shipping. So you can't beat it. And plus, if they're launching it, there's a chance it might already be marked down a little bit. But sometimes they do that. So go to manscaped.com, check it out, check out the handyman. And if it looks good, order it. If it doesn't, that's okay. I'll never know. But yeah, Manscaped, we've been very happy with all the stuff that we've used so far. I'm sure this will be no different, but if you are going to make a purchase, please use that promo code BATSCAPED. Get your 20% off, get your free shipping, get your Manscaped products, treat yourself, and in the process, you are also supporting Holy BatCast. So it is a win-win-win for all of us. We would love it if you did that. So I'm going to bug them and see if I can get one. Otherwise, I'll just order one. That's fine because I literally could use it. So anyway, manscaped.com, BATSCAPED, 20% off, free shipping. Same deal as always, and as always, a huge thank you to Manscaped for continuing to support Holy BatCast. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The handyman. In the Midwest, we had a store called Handy Andy, and it was a hardware store. Did you have it in Indiana, or was it an Illinois thing?
I don't. That doesn't sound familiar. So at least it
Yeah.
wasn't around my neck of the woods.
Yeah, the commercials were call Handy Andy, and you've got it made. Anyway, it doesn't exist anymore. It just made me think of that. Uh,
No, I feel like Lowe's and Home Depot pretty much assassinated all stores of that caliber
Pretty
in
much.
populated areas. Anyway,
You are not wrong.
my favorite was always Maitland's Hardware.
Oh, Maitland's. Sorry, it took me a second. I love them. I mean, it was just a one small shop in New England, but it was so nice.
Yeah, the drive was very inconvenient to pick up screws, but you know,
You had to go over that bridge every time.
yeah,
It was
that
right.
stupid dog was always there.
It was right next to the barber shop. The barber never shut up. Just give it a trim it off the ears a little, hair down to his knees. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, I did pull what my half asleep brain thought was important over the past month. So if I missed anything, it's very possible, and you can tell me, Jamie. But my hunch is you won't know. But
No.
for anybody listening, if you're like, Andy, you missed the most important thing, you're probably right, and we'll catch up on it next time. Here's the crazy thing, Jamie. While we were gone, you know what happened?
Another DC movie was made, released, bombed at the box office, and everybody said they're done with DC.
No, but that's a pretty good that's a pretty good guess.
I mean, I feel like that's the conversation for about the last 5 years, right?
Well, let's have that conversation in a couple weeks. How about that?
Cool.
No, Comic-Con happened.
Oh, that's right.
It's easy to forget, isn't it?
It is. Because usually my idea of Comic-Con is you being there and me following your Twitter to figure out what's going on.
I know. And here's the sad part. That was kind of like the salt in the wounds, is Catherine and I both got our Comic-Con badges in the mail. And so it was like, oh, you can go. You're not going to go, but you can. And it was just sad because those little badges just sitting on our counter, and we're like, yeah, we can't go this year. I will say, for those who went, like, it kind of seemed like a refreshing change of pace. Like, it's sad why it was so, like, old school because of the strikes and everything going on with the studios. But as far as, like, Comic-Con being a smaller, more intimate, less hectic affair, that sounded kind of nice. So for anybody who went, I hope you guys had an awesome time. It looked pretty good from what I saw online. I'll be honest, I didn't see a ton. Because with everything going on, I have not been paying as close attention. So normally, because of Comic-Con, we come out with a million different things to talk about. And this year, not as much. Just little bits here and there, but not as much because most of the studios didn't do their presentations, or if they did, they were much smaller, dialed down. They didn't drop a lot of news, but there's a little bit of Comic-Con news sprinkled throughout here, so I just wanted to mention that. But one of the first things I want to talk about toys, Jamie. Something we don't talk a lot about on the show, but toys.
Couldn't tell you the last time I bought one.
Well, that's why I buy them for you.
That's true. I get more from you than I've gotten from myself in the last 10 years. That's true.
I mean, it's probably good. I try to limit myself, and sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I do not.
Actually, what I'll tell you, my experience with toys has pretty much come down to this. Once or twice a month, the family will go to Target because the kids will need clothes or something for the house, towels, whatever. And I'll just always just pass through the toy aisles and see what's shaking in there. And for example, I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and they have like the retro GI Joe figures. And
Yeah.
I remember when GI Joe, and I'm an old man, I get it. Don't at me about this. I remember when GI Joe figures were like $2 or $3 a piece. Like when I was collecting
$2.99.
Yeah, they were not expensive. And now they have like less than half of the points of articulation that those figures had, which those were the greatest figures in the world to play with because of the way you could move the arms and legs. And I mean, they were just awesome because you could put them in any position and they could do cool fights and everything else. But now they're like the shoulders, the hips, and the head. That's it. That's all that moves. And they're $20 freaking a piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand now why I've gone away from buying toys, because they're less exciting and way more expensive.
Yeah. I get it. They are pricey, but I still really love the Batman ones. Anyway, the ones I want to talk about, because this one, it did make its way around the internet, and it is the Batman Ultimate Movie Collection 6-pack from McFarlane Toys.
I do like McFarlane because they put in the work for the most part, and their stuff looks fantastic. But again, price ranges and everything else, because they did a line of Spawn action figures back in probably the mid 90s, I suppose, and there were some really, really cool ones in there that I even took out of the package for display.
Yeah.
But back then these things were like $12 a piece, so I can only imagine what they'd be now.
I mean, like, they just did their line of the Dark Knight trilogy figures that I have not picked up yet because I'm waiting to find them in stores, and at a certain point I'm going to give up and just order them on Amazon. But I was trying to not do that. Because there's something fun about like going to Target for like garbage bags and going, oh, and they have an action figure. That's going to make this trip more fun. But yeah, I have not seen the Dark Knight ones out in the wild. I've only seen them online, but they're really cool. But this 6-pack, it is the film Batman, starting with Keaton, and then it's Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney, Bale, Affleck, and Pattinson. One of each.
Interesting.
And so it's a 6-pack, and the pre-orders sold out immediately. So I haven't even been able to pre-order this. This one went quick. So I'm keeping an eye on when the pre-order goes back up. But they're really cool. And again, just as a Batman fan, I'm like, I have to. Like, I need them. And it even comes with a little bat signal that lights up that you can swap out which bat signal it is. So it can be like the classic 89 one, it can be the Dark Knight one, or I think it can be the Batman one. But anyway, this is so fun. My little nerdy nitpick is I wouldn't necessarily pick the suits they picked, because for Affleck, they chose like the Justice League suit as opposed to like the BVS suit. And for Kilmer, they did the Sonar suit instead of the Panther suit, which, but beggars can't be choosers. Aside from that, it's really cool, and it was worth a mention. So I'm sure there are some luckier folks out there who've been able to pre-order these. But anyway, it's just such a fun idea, and I love it. And so yeah, I'm keeping an eye out. I'm sure I'll be able to get it one way or the other, but it's super cool.
That sounds like a $200 set to me.
It's not quite that. I want to say it was like $129.99.
Oh, well, that's reasonable.
Ish. Yeah, exactly. Ish. And it was one of those things where, again, like I try to be good and be like, I don't need any more toys. I'm still going through old toys and trying to get rid of stuff. And then I see this and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can say no to this. And I also mentioned, I mentioned the bat signal. The other option is the Affleck. So you can do the classic Keaton one, you can do the Affleck one, you can do the Pattinson one, or you can do the Dark Knight one. So anyway, that's super cool. The other thing that McFarlane announced at Comic-Con, and gotta help me, I'm excited. They're doing a line for Batman and Robin.
As in the movie?
As in the movie.
Oh, Lord.
So they're doing like McFarlane versions of Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, at least those 5. I don't remember seeing Bane, but at least those 5. And I was like, damn it, I'll buy those too. Sons
Yeah.
of bitches.
For all of my horrific complaints that I have about that film that you've all listened to me spout over the years, mostly the aesthetics are not the issue that I have with
No,
that
not
film.
at
So I
all.
mean, I thought the Batgirl costume looked pretty cool. I actually had a couple of the figures that were released before the movie came out, and I bought like 3 of the Batgirls because I thought it looked great. So
I know. Hold on. I'm gonna check to see, because McFarlane Toys, Batman, and Robin. Because yeah, like I'm like, damn it, I will buy these. Because especially again, to get like that McFarlane quality for that movie. And so like now I'm like, I'll just do all the classic movies, because you'll get me every time. I've been able to resist the Batman 66 ones. Harley's awake. Hi, good morning, Harley. Please forgive. She was sleeping so nice too. All right, I can't find the damn thing, but that's okay. Like I said, at least the big 5. I can't remember if Bane was in there or not. But anyway, point is, they looked really cool, and I'm kind of excited about it. I will also say, over the past year or so, I have gotten very nostalgic for the Schumacher films. It's not like I've like revisited and go, actually, they're really great, because they are what they are, but like, I don't know, they're stupid and fun, and especially for like all the merch and stuff, I'm kind of nostalgic for it. Something I forgot to
I
mention.
feel like I mean, maybe it's just me noticing it more now, but I feel like in the course of the last, I don't know, maybe year or so, the awareness and discussion around, well, what's it called, the red book version or red book cut, or
But yes, I mean, it was called the Red Book cut of Batman Forever, and thank you for bringing up. That was one of the big news stories that I wanted to talk about that I did not pull up. Is the Schumacher cut, the quote unquote Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, that now Kevin Smith has seen and has screened. And so now there are many more details out about this alternate cut of Batman Forever.
is that the same as the red book cut, the Schumacher?
More or less.
Okay.
There was the Red Book cut, which was a fan made cut using like available deleted scenes that were on like the DVD and stuff. And then this new Schumacher cut that Kevin Smith got a hold of, which came from a fan. He insists that Warner Brothers didn't give it to him. It wasn't some sort of like secret way of trying to build up buzz or to test the waters or whatever, but he got it from a fan, and like he talked about it on his podcast. And then he screened it at an event at his movie theater, because it's his movie theater and he didn't charge for it. So as long as he didn't charge for it, it wasn't like he didn't break any rules. And so some other fans got to see it, and so they've been able to share details. And there are even more scenes that we had previously never heard of or known about in this Schumacher cut. So this is an even more different version than the fan made one.
Am I the only one that feels like, let's see, 2025, I believe, would be the 30th anniversary of that?
Yeah.
I feel like the amount of discussion and news and things like that just lead me to believe that we're probably going to see something like the Schumacher cut released in an official capacity, be it HBO Max, or I'm not going to call it Max because I was much more happy with HBO Max, but that's another story. Or Blu-ray or whatever. You know, I feel like something's on the horizon with it. I don't have anything to substantiate that with other than just the feeling I have in my gut that the reason that it's been talked about more and more is because something is coming.
I hope so. After listening to kind of the breakdown and the differences in the movie, I am very intrigued. And y'all know I'm not a huge fan of Batman Forever. Y'all know it. Some of y'all are still mad at me about it. But like just listening to the conversation of how different the movie is, at least as far as like the story structure and everything, and how that just works so much better. I'm like, well, hell yeah, I want to see it. I'll pay to see it. Like, you know, not every sin will be corrected, but at least it will be a coherent movie based on the conversation. So I hope you're right. I hope that they are going to release it. I mean, the fact that it already exists in some capacity, yes, they would have to kind of like remaster it and make sure it all matches up. And it sounds like the version that Kevin Smith has only has a temp score. So they would either need to repurpose parts of the existing score, or I mean, call Elliot Goldenthal. He's still around. Maybe he could fill in any gaps. Like, they could do it. I don't know how much it would cost, but it wouldn't be free. Like, it does need work, according to what Kevin Smith and the folks who have seen it have said. But do it. It also wouldn't be $70 million, which is what they paid to finish the Zack Snyder Justice League. It might be 500,000, it might be a million. I don't know, but there are enough Batman fans out there, and just the buzz around people who have seen it, I think they know there's a business opportunity there. So if there's money to be made, I'm sure they're at least discussing it.
30 years, a lot of nostalgia. People, our age or just a hair younger, like say Brendan or you know Hunter, anybody like that who was at the prime age when that movie was released instead of late teens to early 20s. I feel like they would be hungry to have something like that.
Yeah. I mean, and again, so am I. Like, even just based on everything that was discussed, like, I'm like, no, like, I want to see this damn thing, because we all knew that the movie was heavily re-edited after the fact. Like, that was common knowledge. But again, just hearing about like certain scenes where you're like, oh yeah, never heard about that one before. Oh, that's different. That's different. Yeah, it sounds interesting at the very least. So I'd love to see it.
I mean, it would be something that I would buy sight unseen if it was, a digital release or, a Blu-ray exclusive or something along those lines. I would pay for it before even watching it.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that'll happen? It'll sit on my shelf next to Batman and Robin.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've all spent $20-$25 on a movie that we've never gone back to. So as a Batman fan, of course we would. So anyway, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That was not where I was going, but I appreciate it, because that was something I wanted to at least discuss. We could go into more detail another time, just about like what is allegedly in it, but we have a lot of other stuff to cover. But yeah, the Schumacher cut, again, for lack of a better term, it has been seen. God bless Kevin Smith, and I just hope the WB is paying attention, and they're like, wait, there are people who will pay for this. The easiest thing they could do was just drop it as a bonus feature on like a 4K Batman Forever disc, which is better than nothing. But I would love for them to invest a couple bucks into actually, quote unquote, finishing it as best they can.
The world's hungry for nostalgia. I mean, that's why stuff like Top Gun Maverick, and I would dare go so far as to say Barbie, and some of these other ones, people who are nostalgic for things that they loved in their youth are ready to throw money at some modern iteration of it. So
yeah. Speaking of nostalgia, though, something else I wanted to mention was The Flash. Wanted to bring back up The Flash because The Flash is now on digital. And so it's worth noting that, it's out there already. Maybe you guys couldn't wait. You've already purchased it. But because The Flash is now out on digital, like we've done for some of the past animated movies, we've got a giveaway coming up for The Flash. So if you're listening, you're a DC fan, you're a Batman fan, but you have not yet purchased The Flash because maybe you're waiting for the physical release, or maybe you just haven't gotten around to it. Maybe you've been busy. We are going to do a giveaway for The Flash, so you guys can win The Flash on digital, just like we did again for some recent other movies. We're going to do it the same way. So after this episode drops, 24 hours later, the next day, I am going to drop the giveaway on Twitter, aka X. And so all you have to do is make sure you are following Holy BatCast and you retweet that tweet, and then you're entered. And then from everybody who meet those two criteria, I put those into a randomizer. I get 5 winners, and those 5 people get a code to own The Flash on digital. So remember, get to see Michael Keaton back as Batman after 30 years. You get Sasha Calle, the first Latina to play Supergirl, someone who hasn't a character that hasn't been in movies for 40 years. And there is a new Flash podcast. It's a scripted companion podcast called Escape the Midnight Circus. And you get all 6 episodes of that when you have the digital film of The Flash. So anyway, keep an eye out on Twitter, aka X, for the Flash giveaway. And just make sure you follow us and retweet. And then 48 hours after that, I will choose 5 winners for people who get The Flash. So yeah, I couldn't wait. I already have it. I'll tell you. There's a great featurette on Michael Keaton returning as Batman that I had to watch immediately. That was great. The deleted scenes, I'll be honest, They didn't. My hunch is there's an hour of good deleted scenes that they did not put on this because they might leverage them later in the future. So the deleted scenes they put out are like, pretty minor. It's like extra beats, extra lines of dialogue, all stuff where you go, oh yeah, I get why you cut that. So anyway, if you haven't bought The Flash yet on digital, please keep an eye out for the giveaway, and we would love for you guys to participate. Just retweet that tweet. What is it if it's not a tweet anymore? I don't even know. Oh my god. Anyway, retweet that. I'm just gonna call it that for now. Y'all know what I mean. Retweet it, and then again, 5 lucky Holy BatCast listeners will get a chance to own The Flash on digital. Sweet.
So I watched it again.
Great.
I'm just going to sum it up for you as quick as I can.
Oh god.
My feelings haven't changed drastically one way or the other on the film, but allow me to just say this much. The things that I really liked in the film, I appreciated as much or more the second time, but the things I did not like, I appreciated even less. So
It sounds like you.
I still think it's a fine movie. I don't think it's great. I think it's good enough-ish. I think there was a much better movie to be had there, and I wish this thing didn't have the tragic history to it, so that maybe the best version of the film could have happened to begin with. But that's, crying over spilled milk and all that.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I've not watched it at home yet because it came out while I was in Illinois, but I saw it 3 times in the theater. And that's why we got home late last night, Catherine and I, again, 11 p.m. And so what did we watch before bed? I watched the deleted scenes and the Batman featurette on The Flash. That's what I watched before bed. And even Catherine goes, yeah, these deleted scenes, I'm like, I know, it's like, these are the ones that were like, yeah, put them out there because you can say, look, deleted scenes. But I'm like, there's good stuff that they're not showing us yet. Anyway, what was my point? My point is this. I love The Flash. I love the movie. I really do. But I will concede to you on my third time, the lasso of truth joke, the initial joke of
my ego won't allow
my ego won't allow me to thank you, is good. It should have ended there.
Thank you. I believe I said that on the episode. So
you did. That's what I'm saying. I am with you on that. So that's all. I'll also say my sister and brother-in-law watched it last week while I was in Illinois, and they were like, and I think here's what my brother-in-law said. I don't know why everybody was hating on that. I liked it. And I was like, well,
Was that Ray or?
That was Ray. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and even my sister, she even kind of said, well, some of the CG didn't work for me, but otherwise I liked it. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Those are perfect.
I think hating on the movie is way, way, way too strong. But I also, if people love it, more power to you. I'm glad you did. I wish I did, but yeah.
Well, something that you do love that you're going to get to revisit yet again, because we've got another anniversary coming up. We got 30 years of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and so it is being released on 4K in September 12th. And so, 4K disc of Batman Mask of the Phantasm is coming. There's an official trailer out. In the trailer, it looks as crisp as it's ever looked. I will just say, I just hope that they finally cleaned up those little fuzzy scenes that have been bugging me since the VHS. I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about, but
kind of, yeah.
They've been there forever, and I hoped that the Blu-ray would clean them up, and they didn't. And I get it; it must all be in the source. But I'm also like, you're telling me there's no way to clean those up.
I'm sure there's a way, but they want to spend the money?
Exactly. I just don't know if they care enough. But regardless, Mask of the Phantasm. I think it's one of the few Batman movies that everyone agrees on. Maybe. Beloved is celebrating the 30th this year, and so that 4K is coming. The artwork on the disc is awesome. I love it. And so it's one of those things where am I gonna dip? Here's the thing, I don't even have a 4K TV, but I certainly own a lot of 4K discs, and this one has a new featurette about Kevin Conroy. So
are you resisting the 4K thing because you don't want to let go of the 3D, or
yes?
What's that about?
Okay. Yes, that's why.
Because my 4K TV is 3D because I got in way early on the 4K stuff. So mine actually is. Of course, I don't own anything that is 4K and 3D, but my TV is capable of both.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Because, yeah, like I know that as soon as I get rid of my 3D TV, that's it. Like there's no replacing it.
Just move it to another room.
I thought about that, but I just don't know where.
Can you imagine a 3D theater experience while you're in the bathroom?
I don't hate the idea. Andy, you've been in there an hour and a half. I know. I have 32 minutes till this movie's over. I'm comfortable. Okay. So anyway, there you go. September 12th, the 4K of Mask of the Phantasm is coming. Something else that's coming in September, and this is something either I forgot about it or I didn't quite know it was happening. I don't remember. But a new DC ? Animated movie is coming out in September, and that is Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2.
There's a Scooby-Doo and Crypto 1?
Well, no, Crypto TOO.
Oh.
Get it? Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2.
You know what? If it's from the same team that brought me the Scooby-Doo and Batman Brave and the Bold, I'm in. Sight unseen purchase right there.
I know. And like, this is something, I feel like there were like murmurs about it a while back, but honestly, I was not paying a lot of attention. I don't remember all the details, but the reason I mentioned it, not only because it's DC related, but like in the little promo that they were like, oh, trailer tomorrow. Yes, it's the Scooby-Doo gang and Crypto, but it is also full of DC villains. So in the trailer is the Joker and Harley Quinn and Giganta and Solomon Grundy and General Zod and Lex Luthor. Like, yeah, so like there's all these DC villains like on the loose, and it sounds like, and based on the trailer, the Justice League is missing, and so Scooby-Doo and the gang have to team up with Crypto to stop all these DC villains. And so that's where I was like, man, that looks really fun to me. I do like Scooby-Doo. I'm not like a hardcore fan, but I like him. But I've always loved when he's crossed over with DC anyway. Like you said, Scooby-Doo and the Brave and the Bold is one of my favorite Batman animated movies. I love it. And so if this is anything like that, and the designs of all the DC characters are really cool and classic, like this Joker and Harley look amazing. So yeah, FYI, it's coming out there. The trailer is on YouTube. It looks super fun. And Solomon Grundy, one of your favorites, is in it too.
Outstanding. I think I'm just going to go ahead and drop the money, and I'll check iTunes for the pre-order when we get done here.
Yeah, so exactly. So for anybody who didn't know this was coming, it is coming. This was coming on September 26th, I believe. Hold on. Yep, September 26th.
This feels like a prime opportunity for some Halloween theming here. So being released in late September, involving that particular cast of characters, Scooby-Doo kind of lends itself to Halloween theme anyway. So I'm just saying.
I know, but I'll just say the trailer doesn't feel very Halloween-y.
Do any of them though?
No, but I mean, no. If last year there was another Scooby-Doo Halloween animated movie that came out, and then a few years prior there was another one, the one with Elvira. And I just buy them every time because, of course, I do. So there you go. Heads up, Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2. And then as long as we're on the topic of animation, another little piece of news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con was the next two DC animated movies. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay. I love telling you this stuff for the first time.
I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be oblivious to so much of this stuff now. I feel like I can actually be surprised at times now.
Ignorance is bliss.
It can be, sure.
Anyway, so they only announced two at Comic-Con. I don't know if that means they're only doing two next year or if they just announced two and then the others are to come. But the two that they announced are both biggies. They announced an animated film version of Watchmen.
What?
Yeah.
Curious.
Very.
Because how do you condense that down into about an hour and 20 minutes?
I know. I know. That's the question, is like, how is that going to work? Especially because like they didn't announce it as like a two-parter. And we already have, in my opinion, an amazing adaptation of Watchmen in the live action film. So how is this going to be different? I mean, aside from they'll probably include the squid, which yay. But other than that, it almost feels like, like, I mean, of course I'll watch it and I'll buy it, so maybe it doesn't matter, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't, I don't know if we needed another one, but it's interesting nonetheless.
That's very curious because the live action movie from 2009, was it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cut out so much of the stuff that I usually skipped when I read the book anyway.
Yeah.
And it's still what, a 2.5-ish hour movie?
Yeah.
So unless they're going to have an extended runtime on this thing or separate it into multiple parts, I don't know how to make that work.
Same. It is curious, but I do love Watchmen. I love the story. I love the book. I love the movie, which we talked about in 2019 during its anniversary. We love that movie. So I'm certainly open to it. But yeah, I think we all had that same reaction. I'm completely with you of like, what, how are you going to make this work? Like, what's this going to be? What's it going to look like? So I'm curious, but yeah, it's a very interesting choice. The next choice is just as interesting though, Jamie. Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Another one. How do you do that in a condensed runtime?
I know.
Maybe that's why they only announced 2, is because they're both going to be 2-parters. So that's our 4 for the year.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Because I really feel like those 2 vehicles both need a 3-hour runtime each. So I don't know. Speculation on my part, of course, but
yeah. No, I agree. So anyway, yeah, they're both intriguing and interesting, but yeah, like it's like, what's this gonna be?
I was really hoping you were going to say deceased in there, but time will serve me on that, I'm sure.
Sorry about that.
You read any of those yet?
No.
Oh, I for your Scarathon reading assignment, I would certainly recommend those.
Okay. Sweet. All right. Well, there you go. Crisis on Infinite Earths and Watchmen animated films coming up next year, and yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes. It'll be interesting. It is worth noting that Justice League War World just came out. I have not watched that yet, though. It just came out last week, I think.
Sounds right.
Yep. So that's one I will get to. But do you know what I watched? And I was surprised. You won't like it, but I was surprised how much I liked it, and that was Justice League and Ruby. The anime one.
Oh, yeah, I still haven't watched it yet.
I actually enjoyed it. You know what? For the first 10 minutes, I was like, this is gonna be tough. I was not feeling it for like the first 10 minutes or so because it's very anime, and like I know nothing about Ruby, and this movie doesn't do anything to help with that. It just assumes you do. But then, like, I don't know, I kind of like fell into the groove with it, and I actually thought it was fun. Like, it's not one that like I'll revisit a lot or anything, but once I was able to like kind of like get in on its wavelength, I enjoyed it. It was kind of fun.
I feel like we're about due to start catching up on some of these movies again. So,
oh yeah,
because we have that, we have Doom That Came to Gotham, we have, oh gosh, what was it? Like a Legion of Superheroes, maybe.
Oh, I haven't watched that one yet either.
And now the War World.
Yeah, you're right.
Did you see Guy Milk's post in the group about War World the other day?
No.
So apparently he indicated in a very non-spoiler cryptic fashion that for those of you who know what's coming, this is like the lead up to it or something. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? And I didn't want to read any more in case there was some kind of a surprise or something.
Maybe is that Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Maybe.
Could it have set up that? I don't know. Yeah, I haven't.
I feel like War World's a far stretch from leading into something like that, but
no idea.
But that one's still $20, so I'll be holding off for a minute on that. So,
yeah, same. Yeah, that one we didn't get the giveaway. We got the giveaway with the Flash, which is the bigger story, the better.
Yeah, I mean that's
exciting one.
I much rather have that one only because the animated movies, I feel like you get about a 30-day window, and all of a sudden they're $10.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't have much guilt about paying $10 for them because, for the most part, I really like most of the animated movies. So
Yeah, same. Well, something that I hope will be an animated movie, but for now it will just live in comic book form. But the powers that be heard your prayers, Jamie,
oh,
and they made something just for you.
oh, this sounds promising.
This is more Comic-Con news, but we're getting a comic series in October.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
There you go.
I
This one I know you knew about.
yeah, because I got tagged by like 12 people about it, and you know what? I appreciated every single one of them, and I was like showing my wife. I'm like, look, somebody made this for me.
This is made just for you, but some of us also might sample it. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
I'm so
So
excited for this. It's
the
silly. I'm
the
ashamed
DC
it took me that long to
universe
catch
meets
on.
the MonsterVerse. And here's what Jim Lee said. He said, as a comics fan, there's nothing more fun and exciting than exploring these amazing what-if situations that come up when fandoms cross streams. In this case, it's a matchup of the world's greatest superheroes in the Justice League who take on not only the King of Monsters, Godzilla, but the mighty Kong himself. It's a crossover, no-holds-barred battle, decades in the making, and no bona fide comics fan will want to miss it. It'll be written by Brian Bucoletto. Artwork will be Christian Deuce and Luis Guerrero. And then variant cover art will be done by Drew Johnson, Jim Lee, Scott Williams, Dan Mora, Alan Qua, Raphael Albuquerque, and Francisco Matina. And some of those covers have already been released. Dan Mora's, as always, is probably my favorite because he's just, for me, Dan Mora is just one of the best working in the business right now. But anyway, this comes out in October. I don't think I'm quite as excited as you, but I am excited because it just looks so fun and bonkers, and I love that it's happening. But anyway, yeah, how you feeling?
I feel like that might be the first time or first thing that gets me to set foot in a comic book shop in quite some time because I've been way off on my reading. Like I had a stack probably 4 or 5 inches high of books that I didn't read that I ultimately just put down here in my pile of bag that I just never got around to reading because I've just been off the wagon with the reading. So
Yeah.
this might push me back into it a little bit.
Well,
Because
then
that just sounds like a good time. Because I'd love to see something like that on a movie screen, but I don't feel like it would ever happen. Because how could you possibly make that for south of a $350 million budget?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know the story beats. I haven't read any synopses if there's any out there or anything. But I feel like just the title alone should be enough to get my money.
Yep. And I think it is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So anyway, super fun, random, but awesome. I'm in. I'm down. Super cool. All right. Something else. Speaking of things coming and expensive movies, I want to talk a little bit about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom because the Hollywood Reporter did post a whole story about the basically what's happening with that sequel and reshoots and test screenings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the Hollywood Reporter did this article and it says Warner Brothers' quest to build a better Aquaman sequel, 3 reshoots, 2 Batmans, and nonstop test screenings. So they just did additional reshoots in New Zealand in June. And it was the 3rd round, directed by James Wan. And so you mentioned, tongue in cheek before about, the movie's a disaster because there were rumors months ago about test screenings not going well, things like that. What's interesting that Hollywood Reporter points out is that Aquaman 2, much like The Flash, has now spawned 3 regimes or has spanned 3 regimes at Warner Brothers. So this is a movie that has survived over 3 different leadership changes, which is, oh my God. So they wrapped principal photography in January of 2022. And then in post-production, they did test screenings that summer. So last summer. And so it went 2 rounds of reshoots and other test screenings that maybe didn't go as well. And so that's why they did a 3rd one. And then we know that they initially shot a cameo from Michael Keaton's Batman. But then when the release date shifted, they shot it so it would be Affleck. And now it sounds like both of those are gone because neither of those will lead to anything. And it
I'm
says,
not particularly sad about that.
yeah, it says the latest cut of the film features neither version of The Dark Knight because DC heads James Gunn and Peter Safran do not want to promise a movie universe that will not come to fruition, nor tie it to past failures.
Something to be said about awareness, I guess.
I mean, and that's why I'm not mad about it. Like, would I love to see footage of Affleck and or Keaton? Of course I would. But like, if it's just promising something that will never come to be, then what's the point?
Just something to make us kick each other while we're all down again, I guess.
So anyway, apparently James Gunn has weighed in on the most recent cut of the film. They approved a 5-day reshoot, but they said it went so well that they finished it in 4. And it sounds like things are looking up and that Warner's is willing to spend money because they have a lot of faith in the film.
5-day reshoot sounds to me like a scene, maybe. I mean, I don't know a lot of the inner workings of film shooting and such, but that doesn't sound like it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks, maybe I'd get a little bit, oh God, what are they changing? But like 5 days, like they could have just like added something.
Yeah. All right. And then it says, when James Wan spoke to the Hollywood Reporter in April, he said the movie has something to talk about climate change, but it's still a fun action fantasy movie. So anyway, the reshoot stuff I think is, not a lot of news other than that the fact that they just did more, which at this point you'd think would be done. But losing the cameos from Batman, not surprising, but I guess it's good to manage expectations and have that confirmed. And again, like I've said in the past, and how much I love the first one, I've always had faith in James Wan anyway, so I'm still super psyched about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think off the top of my head of any James Wan movie I don't like, so I have no reason to believe this will be any different.
Same.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be no dead silence, but
what can be, really?
Are you like me with this whole team up between James Wan and Jason Blum, like crossing your fingers and toes and just praying that we get a dead silence too?
Oh man, I would love it, but I'm not holding my breath.
I guess I feel like it really has to depend on whether or not James Wan wants to do it, because I can't imagine they're going to tell him no if he does.
Right. I mean, that's true. I just don't know how much he even wants to. It's been so long now.
I'm
all
the
for
nostalgia
it.
thing is a strong thing, and that movie's got quite the following.
Well, I do love that movie has found its audience, so that makes me happy. But it would be nice. But again, I'm not necessarily holding my breath. Along those same lines, though, talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and even Blue Beetle, which comes out in 2 weeks, just shy of 2
it
weeks.
is close, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe is it 2.5 weeks? I think. Yeah.
Does it make me a bad fan that I keep forgetting that movie exists?
I don't think you're the only one, which is sad, but yes, it makes you a bad fan, to answer your question.
Okay.
But because of the strikes that are going on, so the writer strike continues. The SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, is also striking. Because of these strikes, we are going to hit a dry spell in entertainment because almost all production has stopped while they figure this out, and it seems like there's no end in sight, at least for now. And so there are also rumors out there based on Variety, a report they did, is that, studios are starting to look at their slates and shuffle release dates. Sony has already done that. Sony was the first to update their slate and change release dates, which the bad news is I'm going to have to wait a whole nother year to see Craven. Damn it. Right. I was so looking forward to Craven. There's a Craven movie. Did you know that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and the humor of it, and probably a little bit of serious involved with it too. But I like the Venom movies. I like the Morbius movies. So I really don't have any reason not to see Craven at this point. So
when that trailer came out, I was like, wait, when did they make this? When I wasn't
What? There's a
looking at
trailer?
it?
What?
It was like they talked about making a Craven movie, and then I got in the shower. When I got out of the shower, they had made the Craven movie. I was like, wait, how did that happen? I wasn't paying attention.
Who's playing Craven?
Quicksilver,
Which one?
also Kick Ass.
Aaron Taylor Johnson or something
Aaron
like
Taylor
that.
Johnson. Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Sony has already no, I mean I'm not kidding about Sony shuffling their release schedule. They've already done that. And so Warner Brothers is looking to do the same, and so that means the possibility of changing the release date again for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. There were also murmurs of moving Blue Beetle, but now that again we are less than 3 weeks away, it seems like that they decided not to do that. But it seems like Labor Day is kind of the drop dead date of when they've got to figure out if they're going to change this. So here's what I say. Don't change it. You know what? Like, it's going to be what it's going to be. It is weird though that like Warner Brothers also has their new version of The Color Purple coming out like days after Aquaman. So it's like two huge movies within a couple of days of each other, but I know they're very different movies, but still it's weird that like two of their big movies they're releasing within days. But I just feel like, kind of what we've talked about with the DC universe on film and the Flash and all that stuff is like, these movies are going to be a challenge regardless because people know that there's a reboot coming, and delaying them I don't think helps anyone. It's like, bite the bullet, release them. They're going to do what they're going to do. And if the launch of Superman Legacy gets delayed due to the strike, that's going to suck. But also, like, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I think a break is necessary to make it clear that we are starting fresh and to get people excited about the new universe. And delaying, especially Aquaman 2, all it does is prolong the end of the universe even longer, and it could possibly shorten that break that I think is so essential.
Right. And on top of that, a couple of things here, real quick. It'll give them ammunition for streaming content, digital purchasing, and all that stuff, because they'll have to fill those things as well. But the other side of it is, I've wondered for a while why the Superman Legacy thing was as far out as it was. I'm like, I wonder if Gunn has some other project he's doing, or if he wants everything in a row before he starts filming or everything. And then it dawned on me a couple of weeks ago, they've known about this potential strike coming for a very, very long time now.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like the reason that Superman Legacy was pushed out all that time was they anticipated that and wanted to be prepared for it to happen before anything went into full production.
Mm.
That's my own opinion. Again, I don't have anything to back that up with other than how I feel about it. But
no,
I feel like that was just a good business move if that's what they did.
No, I think your point is valid, and I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but I guess you're right. Like, it's funny, of all these things we're hearing about being delayed and being postponed and everything, there hasn't been any news about Superman Legacy, and you're right. Like, maybe they planned for it. Like, they knew it was coming, and
like,
so
I feel like Gunn was in. I hate to use this term because it makes people nervous, but I almost feel like Gunn, for lack of a better way to represent these words, was in a hurry to write Superman Legacy. I'm not saying he like rushed the process or anything like that. I feel like maybe the stories were in his head already and he just had to get everything out on the page. But, that would have been another part of it. He had to get it done before the strike went into effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that they could at least do pre-production stuff with it while they're waiting for this to, I don't want to minimize it by saying blow over, but, to resolve itself.
For sure. Yeah. Nope, I think you're right. And so, I mean, obviously time will tell, but as far as delays, like, if you need to delay Dune or The Color Purple, I get it. You need to kind of like stretch out your inventory and what you've got to last for, to help with whatever drought happens. But for the DC stuff, again, I think it's time to just bite the bullet, release them, hope for the best, Again, Blue Beetle doesn't look like it's going to burn up any box office, which sucks because I still think it looks good. But again, I'm also not surprised based on what happened with the Flash. Um, but yeah, it's just, like, release them and allow there to be a break with the DC content, because I think that break will only help Superman Legacy when the time comes.
I agree.
So it's more of the long term plan than it is the short term. But we shall see. But again, this was a story a week or two ago, and not much has come out since then, except for the Sony shuffle. So I would not be surprised, because Sony already did it, that if we start getting news that the other studios are going to do the same. All right. Well, do you want to talk about Superman Legacy? I left it till the end.
Sure. Why not?
Because there is a lot to talk about with Superman Legacy. We got additional casting. And I think some of this dropped like shortly after we decided to take the break, because of course it did.
Yeah, I feel like the last discussion was about Corn Sweat and Brosnahan, right?
It was.
Okay.
But now we have additional casting for other DC characters who will be in Superman Legacy. And I was trying to find some of James Gunn's quotes, but that's okay. I'll get to it. So first of all, the first ones that came out is we have Isabella Merced will play Hawkgirl. Eddie with one D, I don't know, will play Mr. Terrific, and Nathan Fillion will be playing Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. So those were the first ones, and James Gunn did confirm this. And then Anthony Kerrigan, who DC fans would know as Mr. Zsasz from Gotham, he will be playing Metamorpho in Superman Legacy. So in addition to Superman and Lois, now we have a Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner, and a Metamorpho. So, Jamie, how do you feel about this?
The only one of those names that I readily recognize is Nathan Fillion. And Guy Gardner is not my favorite of anything to do with Green Lantern.
What?
He is... he's fun. I feel like he'll bring a fun element to it. I don't feel like it's going to be a heavy involvement. Gunn likes to put people he knows in movies for 10 seconds kind of thing. I've seen a lot of the discussion that I partook in partook in reading. I didn't discuss at all because it just drove me crazy for like a day. And then after that, I was like, nope, I'm out, because it's too much for me to deal with you people. They're like, oh, they're already packing in too much. It's too busy. It's going to be a mess and blah, blah. I'm like, there might be a combined total of 6 minutes of screen time for every one of those characters you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea. All we can tell from this announcement is there will be an established DC universe right out of the gates.
Yeah.
We're not doing origins here. We're not the Justice League or some iteration of it exists. The Green Lantern Corps exists. Superman is up and running. This is all fine with me.
I'm with you. No shock. I'm with you. I think this is great. I think it's so fun. And yeah, like some of the knee-jerk reactions from certain folks who were like, oh, I thought this was a Superman movie. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, first of all, we have now 4 James Gunn superhero movies to look back at to see how he balances such things. And I think he does it very deftly. There's a lot going on in the Guardians movies, but the movies are unmistakably about the Guardians. And I thought he also balanced all the characters extremely well in the Suicide Squad. So I'm not particularly worried about it. And I love the idea, like you said, of there being an established DC universe going right into this. We already know that it is not an origin story for Superman. And so there should be, there should be other ones out there. And so, yeah, I think all the casting is pretty spot on. The Nathan Fillion one, obviously, we all should have been like, well, duh, of course. Like, that one we should have all seen coming. I guess we all probably assumed Nathan Fillion would show up one way or another, but I don't think anybody had Guy Gardner on their bingo card.
No, I sure didn't. But
But
since everybody clamored for him to play Hal Jordan for so long, they probably already have other plans for Hal Jordan. So I imagine this was like the consolation prize, if you will.
well, yeah, I think it's kind of a way to exactly sort of scratch that itch. But yeah, with other plans for Hal, this is a way to have it both ways. And when you think about it, like with Nathan Fillion's attitude and his sarcasm and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, like he'd be a great Guy Gardner. I never really thought of it because I think we all thought of Hal. But when you think of it in this terms, you're like, oh yeah, that's actually pretty darn good. I like it.
Especially if he has the bowl cut.
And allegedly he will. James Gunn did say part
Oh.
of the reason he did it was just so he could give Nathan Fillion a bowl cut.
So now I guess the only question is, who are Michael Rooker and Sean Gunn going to play? Because we know they're coming.
This is true. All right. I finally found the quotes I was looking for. Thank God. Had to do some scrolling, but I found them. But no, you're right. Like he's got his buddies, he's got the people he loves working with, and Fillion is one of them. And so I also love the idea of like an established Green Lantern Corps being set up from the beginning, and then we will meet Hal and John in Lanterns, but we know Guy is already out there. Like that, I think is a lot of fun. Idai Gathigi, who is Mr. Terrific, you will recognize him. I mean, I know that this is just the nerdy answer, but he was Darwin in X-Men First Class.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think he's also been doing like a lot of like well like well reviewed TV, but stuff I don't watch. Oh, he was also here it is. He was also in the Twilight films, which obviously I did not watch. But yeah, I think he's on some acclaimed TV show that I don't watch. And then Hawk Girl, Isabella Merced.
There was some buzz around her, so clearly people know who she is, even though I don't.
Oh my God, I lost it. I had it right here. Where did it go? Oh, so she was in Sicario, Day of Soldado, which I did not see, but
I own that movie and still have not watched it.
But she was the live action Dora in that movie.
She was the live action Dora in Sicario, Day of the Soldado?
No.
Because now I'm going to go watch that movie out of morbid curiosity.
In Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So anyway, I think the character choices are interesting, but I like them. I think we had heard murmurs that Mr. Terrific was in the movie previously anyway.
He's a cool character, so I'm all for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then finally, Anthony Kerrigan, again, he was Mr. Zsasz in Gotham. Even people who didn't like that show tend to agree that he was great as Zsasz in Gotham. If you saw him, I'm sure you would recognize him. But Metamorpho, man, like, I've always liked Metamorpho, and like, I certainly never thought I would see him in a movie. But with James Gunn running the DC universe, it shouldn't be too big of a shock. But no, he's also very well liked. He's on the show Barry, which I've never seen.
Me either.
But anyway, like as Metamorpho, I think that's super fun. And so, yeah, I like populating the DC universe with these characters. They're all great actors to play these characters. So that means they can be used again in the future. But I don't have the same concerns as some other folks of like, I thought this was a Superman movie. It's like, well, it is. But it's also the start of the new DC universe, and they haven't even shot the movie yet. So why don't we just give it a minute before we panic?
Because that's not how fans think.
That's true. It doesn't work that way. But James Gunn, bless him, there were people who asked him on the internet, and he responded. And so I found these quotes. So he did say this. He said, "I've never used one movie to set up another movie. The characters are there because they help tell Superman's story better. Not so we can set up separate projects in a franchise. Superman and Lois are the clear protagonists."
If I can just take a moment, and I know Gunn wasn't directly involved or anything, but even though I'm not wild about the movie, the one thing that one of the things that I certainly like and respect about The Flash is even with all of the busyness encircling that film, it's still very much very recognizable as a Flash movie. It is
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
Batman movie co-starring Flash. It is not a Supergirl movie co-starring Flash. So you can say whatever you want about this film and the problems that you may or may not have with it, but the fact of the matter is, even with all that stuff going on, very much a Flash-oriented film. So it can be done, people.
Oh no. Here's the thing. Prior to that Flash movie coming out, the complaint was, "Oh, is this a Batman movie or a Flash movie? Oh, good thing you've got Supergirl and Batman in the Flash movie." And then the movie came out, and now the complaint is, "Well, you should have gave Batman more to do. Should have gave Supergirl more to do in the Flash movie." So no one's ever happy.
Hey, I'm one of those. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more out of those characters, but the bottom line is it is a Flash movie. So yeah.
Um, So some other things that James Gunn said, they asked, "Oh, are these actors going to play the characters through the entire DCU?" James Gunn said yes. They asked if Superman Legacy will have Jimmy Olsen. He said yes.
It
And
can't. He's dead.
stop it.
He was killed in the desert. I saw it.
Um, Someone asked, "What compelled you to put these characters into a Superman story?" And James Gunn said, "They fit the story that I'm telling, and story comes first." James Gunn also said the primary story most definitely revolves around Superman and Lois. James Gunn said, "Giving my old pal Nate a bowl cut might be my primary reason for casting him." And it says the Green Lantern show is not separate from this, so Nate will play Guy in all parts of the DCU.
Excellent.
And then finally, before I do this other quote, is when he said he never uses one movie to set up another movie. He's not wrong. Again, if you look at the Guardians movies, nothing in those, it's like, oh, we're just putting this in here for this, that kind of thing. And even in the Suicide Squad, yes, Peacemaker followed it, but if you never watched Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad stands on its own. It's not like he was only there to set up the show. And then finally, he said this. Someone said, "I thought this was a Superman movie." And he said, "Superman is a man of two worlds. Clark with Lois, Jimmy, and Perry, and then Superman with his metahuman compatriots. How could I tell a full story about Clark/Superman without including all areas of his life?"
Well, the simple answer to that would be to just do a Superman movie that has nobody else in it, which in a nutshell would become an origin film, which
Yeah.
we've got a couple of those already. So I don't feel like we need another one.
Yeah. So I loved his answers. Again, I wasn't worried anyway, because again, we know this movie is kicking off the DC universe. And so I wasn't particularly concerned, but I love that he was ready for those who were, and he certainly had, I think, the right answers for that. I am excited about it. I'm excited to get tastes of the greater DC universe in the Superman movie, and I also have faith that it will still be very much a Superman movie.
I think I share that same sentiment.
So, all right. Well, Superman Legacy for now is still scheduled for July 11th, 2025. Casting continues. There have already been some rumors about Jimmy Olsen and Lex Luthor as well, but those we're still waiting for official announcements.
Who's the rumor on Lex?
Um,
Hopefully Bryan Cranston.
Stop. The rumors for Lex. Well, there was a rumor about Daniel Craig that seemed to have been squashed.
Oh God,
So-
that would have been
So
interesting.
it broke Brendan's little heart. But that rumor came out, and then it seems like it went away. The other rumors are the Skarsgård brothers. So either Bill or what was the other one? Alex Skarsgård?
Yes.
The one from Godzilla versus Kong.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like both of them have popped up in rumors. I don't know how true they are. I love the idea of Alex, less so with Bill. I like Bill, but I just don't necessarily see him as Lex. And then Nicholas Hoult is still out there in the conversation too. So we just have to wait and see.
Interesting. I have no issue with any of those.
Neither do I. And again, it's all rumor for now, so we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, exciting. All right, that's what I got for news to catch up on. Phew.
That was a lot.
I mean, it was a month. That's
Fair
what'll
point.
happen. All right. Well, now we've also given it a month for the mailbox to fill up. We'll do as many as we can. I can't promise we're going to do them all because I got things to do. But that's okay. We're going to do as many as we can. We're going to crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
Let's see here. This first one is from Stephen Marshall. It says, "Hey guys, I was so happy that James Gunn cast David Cornsweet as Superman and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois. It shows that sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice, and it made me laugh to see some say that they wanted something different with regards to Superman, saying things like we could go for a different look and how he's apparently Cavill's twin. I was like, but it's freaking Superman. He looks perfect, and so some fans are strange." One of the other things I wanted to touch on was the Flash box office. I think it flopping has hit some fans hard to the point where some people have changed their minds on liking it, which I find odd. People should stay true to what they like. Made me realize I miss the days when we didn't really know about the box office. Some of my favorite films of all time, like The Thing, Masters of the Universe, Shawshank Redemption, were all box office failures, but I never knew or cared growing up. I just enjoyed them. You're right, there are many factors that play into why The Flash flopped, but ironically, I don't think any of them are the movie itself. Audiences just didn't care. Which leads to my question. For the reboot to have any chance of being successful, I think Gunn has to cut ties to the connections of the past, including Peacemaker and Waller. I also think he has to find a way to get that branding right to show people that this is the new DC. How do you think that they sell the reboot as a new thing and not just another DC movie to the general audience? Sorry that was long. Take care. Kind regards, Steven. Thanks, Steven. All right. I will agree. It is a bummer about the Flash. Like, because the Flash failed, it's a bummer. That's yeah. Some people, like, it's kind of dampened their excitement for the movie. That sucks, because you're right. It shouldn't be that way. Like, if you love the movie, you love the movie. If you didn't, you didn't. But yeah, the box office should be a separate conversation. It certainly took some of the wind out of sails for being excited about it, because it's like, oh, well, damn, F me again. I like a movie that everybody wants to shit on, but I still like the movie.
I never let box office dictate whether I should or shouldn't like a movie. I mean, I just mentioned earlier that I saw Morbius and I liked it. I literally went and saw that movie, not because I really wanted to see it, but because I was sick and tired of the narrative being this is the worst movie ever made, said 900 million people who haven't seen the movie. So it was like a protest $11 donation on my part. I just happened to be pleasantly, I don't think it's a great movie, but I was pleasantly surprised. So my point is, I can't stand it when box office is the only piece of conversation that dictates what the quality is or isn't of a film. And I fully agree with what Steven said, that it should not hinder your enjoyment of the film if it did not make all the money in the world. It just shouldn't.
Yep, agreed.
I feel like this is an opportune time for me to mention that Sucker Punch was not a box office success and is still one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
Because I have to work Sucker Punch into every conversation. So.
Well, success. Well done. His question, how do you think that they sell this as a reboot so that way the general audience knows that this is something new?
My best educated guess is a different Superman and a different Batman are pretty much going to open the door and lead the way to let people know not the same.
I was going to say that, and that's the harsh reality, is for everybody who wanted a return of Cavill, and I am one of those people, the quickest and easiest shorthand to make everyone understand that this is new is it's a new Superman. And it makes it crystal clear that this is not the old universe. And again, I think that break helps too. But I think with the addition of brand new cast plus a brand new tone, I am sure it will be very clear. And I would not put it past them in the trailers to say something like "witness a new beginning" or something like that in the tagline to just really hammer it home.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was just getting ready to ask you if it was you in charge of this, would you say the all new, all different DC universe, or would you just kind of sweep that under the rug and say, let people figure this out for themselves?
I would probably do something a little with a lighter touch than that, but yes, I would. Like the dawn of a new age or whatever, just to make it clear that, we're starting fresh.
All right, then.
Sometimes people need their hands held. All right, next message is from Stephen Orm. It says, "Hey guys, I didn't really enjoy the Flash movie. I think with the constant changes in direction with DC films and the backstage drama, it really has soured my enthusiasm for DC content. There are enough inflated egos on the internet, so I'll just leave my thoughts aside, but I'm glad that you liked it and your positivity keeps me going. I recently watched BVS again and I have some thoughts. Yes, 7 years on and we're still discussing. I think some of the reasons the movie got such a poor reception was due to everything that was going on in 2016. It was only 4 years after The Dark Knight Rises, and so I feel that there wasn't much of a cooling off period before there was a new Batman, so the general public wasn't ready for a new actor and such a different take on the character. Marvel was also at their peak, so there were going to be unfair comparisons, and how they were influencing the movie genre, if you tried to be different, was immediately perceived as bad. The marketing of BVS was overblown and revealed too much, like Doomsday and Wonder Woman, and Warner Brothers needed eyes on BVS to make money, so they were throwing everything at it but the kitchen sink. All that pressure set up the movie to fail. If you watch BVS in isolation and ignore everything that was happening at the time, it's a great film. Do you think if Nolan never released his trilogy, and if Marvel wasn't doing their thing, and the only comic book movies released in the decade were Man of Steel and BVS, would BVS have been received better by the general public? Sorry for the long email, and Andy, I hope that you and your family are doing okay during this difficult time. Regards, Steven." Thank you, Steven, and we're doing okay. We're dealing. So thank you. BVS. It's not even Monday morning quarterbacking. Now it's a 7-year Monday morning quarterbacking. Before I say my piece, Jamie, what do you think?
I certainly agree about the marketing thing that he mentions. There was just too much given away too soon. Would people have viewed the movie differently if only Man of Steel and BVS existed? I don't think they would have, because primarily, and keep in mind, I tend to run in geek circles with geek thought patterns, not general public thought patterns. I feel like it was just too different for too many people to just up and accept. And by definition, I think the general audience is too. If you have Adam West and Michael Keaton and Christian Bale out there, and then this Batman comes along and he's different than all those. I mean, all of those were pretty different from each other anyway, but this one was just so much different. I think it was a lot for people to take in if they didn't go in expecting this kind of change. Like, it took me 3 watches of that movie for it to finally click with me, because the first time my expectations were impossibly high and were never going to be met. So I didn't really like it. And then the second time I was like, this still feels off somehow. And then by the time I watched it the third time and I settled down and I was like, okay, now I get what they're trying to do. But the problem is you can't anticipate somebody who's not a hardcore Batman fan or comic book geek to give that kind of a movie 3 chances to be able to click with them. So do I think people would have viewed it differently if it was, kind of by itself without the competition across the street, or only being 4 years removed from an incredibly successful Batman trilogy? No, I do not.
I'm with you. Steven, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I do. But the truth of it is the people who loved the movie now loved the movie opening weekend. I don't know anybody who hated the movie opening weekend who now goes, no, actually it was pretty good. I don't. I think that the reality is a lot of people didn't like the movie. They didn't like it then. They don't like it now. And I don't think that it's just because, they weren't ready for a new one. Yes, they were. The opening day showed that they were showing up. They were ready. And then reactions got out there and less people went, and then less people went. And the word of mouth was really bad. It's not. I don't think it was the movie landscape. It was the movie, and I hate to say that because I love the movie. I loved it opening night, but that's the reality of it. Is like if people weren't ready, there would have been no hype. And to your point, Jamie, I think on our last episode a month ago, you even said like BVS got close to Batmania, not quite, but it got close because there was that much buzz around this movie. Like there was so much buzz. There was so much excitement. There was so much. And then people saw the movie and just a bunch of them didn't like it. And that's fair. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. I like it. Not everyone does. And I can appreciate that I liked it and not everyone did. But no, I don't think trying to blame Marvel movies or trying to blame that, oh, it had only been 4 years since Rises. I don't think that holds water because if that were true, people wouldn't have showed up, but they did show up. And it just wasn't what they wanted.
This will make me Mr. Popular with a lot of people out there, but Marvel was very reactionary to everything that DC was doing during that time.
Oh, with like Civil War and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before and even after that a little bit. And then once Marvel realized, hey, we don't have to compete with these guys because they're going to screw themselves with what they're doing, it, differentiated completely. But there were a lot of very similar ideas that were floating around between those two companies. One would announce something and the other would come out with something that was not too far off in premise and whatnot. So
yeah,
listen, we can fight about this until everybody's blue in the face. And you can tell me Feige came up with this idea in 1964, but Civil War was a reaction to BVS, period.
All right.
So yeah, anyway, I don't think the Marvel stuff has anything to do with the success or not success of a DC film.
Yeah.
Because if history's proven anything, it's that there's room in people's hearts for everything.
Yeah,
they just have to like
it. The audience was excited. That opening, the previews and the opening day were huge. And then Saturday was less, and then Sunday was really less, and then the next weekend, like. Just is what it is. Wasn't for everybody, and that's okay.
Now, do I think we could have changed some perspective with the marketing? Yes, I do. I think if we would have said the story that you thought you would never see, or the Batman and Superman that you thought you would never, like if we would have put it in people's minds, we understand that you're excited to see Superman and Batman sharing a movie screen live action for the very first time ever. But if they would have checked people's expectations on that, because Geek Circle wise, I think probably 75% of us or more expected this to be a world's finest movie from the time it was announced to the time it was released. And that ain't what we got. So I just,
I feel like I don't know if the trailers never sold the world's finest movie.
Okay. Well, that's fair. But the anticipation leading up to that point, because there was a long time where this was discussed and talked about before we even got a teaser or a trailer or Comic-Con footage or any of that stuff. So I feel like if they would have just prepared people to expect something a little different, maybe it would have been a different result, because then people wouldn't have walked out of a theater going, that ain't what I wanted. That's not what I expected.
Yeah.
Because if they know going in, it's not what they expect, maybe those things are changed before they get started. I don't know. I just, the marketing is by far and away my biggest issue with that movie. And it always has been, and it's always going to be.
Yeah. All right, let's move forward. The next email is from Brian B. It says, hey guys, I apologize this is late, but I wanted to send my condolences to Andy, and I'm sorry for your loss. Thoughts and prayers to you and your family. I recently was watching an old episode of Batman the Animated Series featuring the Joker, and I started thinking about how Mark Hamill has stated he'll most likely never voice the Joker again due to the loss of Kevin Conroy. Personally, as much as I would love for him to return to the role, I'd completely respect that decision. So what say you guys? Also, sorry if you've touched on this in the past, but do you have an overall favorite Mark Hamill Joker performance? Personally, The Mask of the Phantasm comes to mind. While the Joker was not necessarily the primary focus, there is no denying that Mr. Hamill did some amazing work on that film. Thanks as always for the great podcast. God bless, Brian. Thank you, Brian. And again, thank you for the kind words of condolences. I appreciate that. we saw my dad off on Friday, and I think we saw him off in a way that he would have enjoyed. So there's some peace in that. A favorite Mark Hamill Joker performance, Jamie?
I don't know that off the cuff I can come up with a favorite performance. I obviously can say how much I loved his work in Mask of the Phantasm, which is one of my favorite BTAS related things. But I do have a favorite Mark Hamill Joker story, and that's he would drive around in his car and practice that laugh, and like at stoplights, people would look at him like he'd lost his freaking mind because they didn't know what he was doing. And my cousin was telling me that she read that once, and I was just giggling about it because I can just see Mark Hamill at a stoplight doing that. And somebody looking at us like, what is the matter with that guy? Not even realizing, it's Mark Hamill doing his Joker laugh because he was still, coming into it. But anyway, that's always stuck in my mind for as many years as it's been since my cousin told me about it.
Yeah. It's hard to disagree with Mask of the Phantasm. The only other one that jumps to mind, and he's done so many great performances of the Joker over the years. There's almost no wrong answer, but the one that jumps to mind to me is Joker's Favor, just because I love that episode so much, and I think that he's so amazing in it. And I think it's one of my favorite Joker episodes, and therefore, by extension, one of his best performances. All right. Next message. Sorry, I just saw the first line and I've got to laugh. This comes from Matthew Harridge. It says, the subject line is what made me laugh. It says, man, I'm over fandom. DC fans and Snyder fans are the worst.
Welcome. Have a seat.
Welcome to the party, pal. Anyway, he says, my adventures with Superman, Superman and Lois, Man of Steel, and hopefully Superman Legacy, all this awesome content, and fans just want to fight. No question here. Sorry for the aggressive email. I'm probably going to forget about it, but by the time you come back in August, but I wanted to get it off my chest. I think Jamie has the right idea staying away from Twitter. Thanks for all that you guys do on BatCast. Your appreciation for storytelling made me a better fan of DC. So thanks, Matthew. No question, just frustration. And I'll just say, I understand your frustration. I have been there myself. I get it. And yeah, sometimes you just need to step back, let the fans fight, and just enjoy the content you love.
Yeah. There's enough out there. We're so spoiled.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about watching the stuff you enjoy. So sometimes block out the voices and just watch something you enjoy, get swept away in it, and forget about all this other nonsense, because that's all it is, nonsense. Sorry.
It was the same for years at the comic book shop. You gather up in there on a weekly basis and debate with people about things in there, and half the time you were debating shit that just was never going to happen, or you didn't think was ever going to happen. The whole who would win in a fight thing was birthed at the counter at the comic book shop. It was not born on social media. That was just who would win between Superman and Darkseid, or who would win between Batman and Captain America. All that stuff started in those comic book shops. And for the most part, it was pretty civilized and fun. And then it just evolved into more and more and more and more. And people could do it from, instead of a countertop where somebody could reach them and smack them if they got out of line, from halfway across the world. So I get it. I know what he's saying. Fandom is awful.
I know. I will just say, though, there are a lot of great fans who are respectful.
There's a tremendous. I would go so far as to say there's more great ones than there are not great ones. The problem is the not great ones have a tendency of just keeping to themselves when it gets to that level.
That's true too. But no, so that's the other thing is, find the ones you like being around, find the ones that are respectful, find the ones that are fun to talk to, and don't be afraid to ignore or block the ones that aren't.
I always like a conversation with somebody who I can disagree with and never get to the point where I say to myself, I wish I had never encountered this person. You and I, we've had disagreements. Brennan and I have had disagreements. Jay Yaw is one of the most knowledgeable superhero comic book people I've ever encountered in my entire life. Don't agree about everything, but you know what? I can have a conversation with any of you guys, and I still feel like we go to the bar and buy each other a beer when it was done. It's never gets to that point where you just a dick. There's no other way to say it.
Yep. All right, next message from Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, given that The Flash and the Shazam didn't do well at the box office, and even Marvel films are getting a mixed reaction, with a full reboot for DC, or will a full reboot? Will a full reboot for DC change the slump that superhero movies are in? We're not getting any DC movies next year except for Joker 2, so will this break be enough to get general audiences back? Or does DC, and more to the point, Marvel, need a longer break to get people's interest back? Should Blue Beetle have been postponed so it could stand on its own? I do worry that given it's in the middle of the end of the DCU, it's getting lumped into that category rather than being a film of its own." From Tom Fallows. Thanks, Tom. We've touched on this because I do think, like I said, the break is necessary. But I don't think it's that people just need a break from superhero content. I think that they need superhero content that is going to get them excited again. Because Across the Spider-Verse did great. Because that was something they were excited about and were happy to show up for and pay for. The Flash didn't do that. Shazam didn't do that. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's just like, oh, do we just need a break from superhero movies? It's more about we just need a stronger hook to get people to care again. I sure hope that Superman Legacy will look exciting and different and new enough that will do it. Time will tell, but that is my hope. And again, I think the break will only help in that. What do you think?
I really maintain, and I know I say this way more often than I need to, the shift caused by the pandemic of people staying at home for their content versus going out for their content is still out there. It's still lingering. People have been spoiled about, if I wait anywhere between 14 and 45 days, this movie will be available for me to click a button on my TV and watch in the privacy of my own living room.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I really feel like that is having an effect on these $200 million movies, that people just aren't interested in being around the crowds. They would rather be on their couch. They have other things that they're trying to do in their busy lives. If you break down the cost for family viewership, I've said right along, the VOD stuff is the way to go, because you're going to spend, between $20 and $30 on this movie when that's literally 2 tickets to go sit in the theater. And if you've got 3 people, automatically the home viewing is a more reasonable and affordable option for you. So I don't know. I still think that's playing a really big factor in this. And yes, there are some movies that are going to buck that trend and make their money. Super Mario Brothers, Barbie, Oppenheimer. I mean, there are movies that are not going to follow that, but I think more than not are following that trend right now, and will probably continue to do so if I had to take a guess.
Well, and people, I do think people know they can be choosier. So you're right. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go to the theater for the movies they really want to see, like the ones you just mentioned. But for ones that you're kind of interested in, it's much easier to go, if I wait 4 to 6 weeks, I'll see it then. I mean, there is a little silver lining. Apparently, The Flash is doing great on digital because it wasn't enough to get people to come out to the theater. But now that it's home, it's a little more convenient. People are checking it out. I don't have any numbers, but there have been quite a few stories this week about, oh, yeah, it's doing great on digital because people are interested enough when it's convenient. So
if you ever go, you're on the iTunes movie shopping page. A lot, like I am.
Way too much.
If you go to the top movies chart, Flash has been in the top 5 since it's been released.
Yeah.
Even back when it was a pre-order, before it was actually released, it was still in the top 5.
Yeah.
So,
and then as for your point about Blue Beetle, Tom, I agree with you. I think that it is a victim of circumstance, and it's really a shame that, it's kind of getting lumped into the death of the DCEU. And so I don't think a lot of eyeballs are on it. I mean, even Jamie Drewley, who's a terrible fan, keeps forgetting it's coming out.
Yeah.
But
and that's uncharacteristic for me with a DC movie. It is.
Yeah.
Even one, I'm not a big Blue Beetle fan or anything. I don't have anything against Blue Beetle, but if a DC movie is coming out, usually I'm pretty aware of it from, start to finish. And this one, I just have not been. I literally keep forgetting that the movie is out. And then you said it's coming in 2 weeks. I'm thinking like, wow, there's no way that should be coming that soon. It shouldn't even be done yet, but here we are.
August 18th. All right, next message is from Benjamin. It says, "Hey, Batcasters. Andy, I'm so sorry to hear about your father, and I hope that this message finds you well. I just saw Oppenheimer opening weekend, lining up interestingly with The Dark Knight's 15th anniversary. Sitting in the theater, I was thinking this. In certain ways, here's a guy at the top of his game, Nolan, and I also think it's a bit of a drawback. Nolan has become Scorsese level at this point. For Scorsese, I'm glad he got the opportunity to make an Avengers level gangster movie on Netflix called The Irishman, but it didn't need to be 3.5 hours. Oppenheimer came in at 3 hours, making it the longest movie in Nolan's filmography. I'm glad he's interested in historical dramas and meditative space operas recently, but can we get back to anarchist clowns with gasoline lighting giant piles of money on fire? Personally, I miss old Nolan. Memento, Dark Knight, Inception. Now it seems he may have less to prove, so he doesn't need to edit as much. And sheer running time aside, my mind is no longer blown away by new Nolan movies as much. They don't have the same quality of unfolding in a surprising way or endings that leave you speechless. I don't need everything to be as surprising as Memento, but I miss the old Nolan movies the way they used to be, full of incredible turns and layers and philosophy made fun. Anyway, for my question, even if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, how do you guys feel about old Nolan versus new Nolan? Thanks as always for the great pods, your fellow bat nerd, Benjamin. Thank you, Benjamin. And oh, what an interesting question. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. Jamie, I don't think you have.
I have not, and the only thing holding me back is everything is crazy in the Drooly household right now, and my son really wants to see it, but he's got all kinds of stuff going on with his rifle competitions and back to school, and my wife is reconstructing the house right now, so just finding the time to sit down and watch a 3-hour movie is not an easy trick at the moment, but I do really want to see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one. I mean, and again, I say this a lot, is that like, you know, we have to pick and choose our theater trips. And for me, I'm like, Oppenheimer, am I interested? Yes. Am I paying for a babysitter so I can go see Oppenheimer? No, I'm not. Like, I'll just wait for it to come home. It's fine.
Now, if Oppenheimer
I know there's
flew,
some purists out there clutching their pearls going, no, you need to see Nolan in IMAX. Well, it ain't going to happen.
yeah, I mean, I get the whole Nolan wants you to see it on film and max and screen and everything else, but I'm just as content watching any movie on my TV as I am in a crowded movie theater. So whatever. If you don't want anybody to ever see your movie on any format other than a IMAX movie screen, then don't ever release it on home video. Okay. I only want you to ever collect the ticket money from IMAX viewings. If that's the only way it's meant to be seen, that's the only way you should get paid. But anyway, I'm over that now. I think for me, Christopher Nolan has one of the biggest egos of any person I've ever encountered in my life. You know, not personally, like the guy has like, I'm just seeing like veins pulse out of his head with the ego trying to escape. But the flip side of that is he's also my favorite living filmmaker. And I only have him behind Alfred Hitchcock. And it doesn't matter to me if it was Following or if it was Oppenheimer. I really like every Christopher Nolan movie that I've ever seen, if not love it. So I don't differentiate that I think his style or approach or anything has changed all that much. I still think he's the same creative, original, mostly original, I should say, because Insomnia was a remake. And, you know, obviously the Batman stuff was based on existing materials in some fashion or another, but his voice speaks to me. I love his work. I think he's an incredibly skilled writer, director, filmmaker. And, you know, is he kind of a prick at times? Yeah, I think he is. But if anybody's earned the right to be one at this point, I think it's him. Same with James Cameron. You know, I tend to badmouth James Cameron way more now than I used to. But the fact of the matter is James Cameron is an outstanding filmmaker. And if anybody deserves to have an ego and be a prick, I think those two are up on the Mount Rushmore of deserving of being a prick. So
I mean, yeah, they've earned it, if anything.
Right. I love Nolan. I desperately want to see every Christopher Nolan movie when it's released. But the fact of the matter is, I think probably 4 of his last 5 movies, I waited until they came on home video, so I didn't see it at the theater. And that's my favorite living filmmaker. Favorite. So if he can't get my ass in a movie theater seat on opening night, almost nobody can, unless it's just something I feel like I need to be there for.
Yeah. I think that like you're low key kind of acknowledging old Nolan versus new Nolan, even though you love him and you think he's amazing. But if even you're not going out to the theater to see him, there's something missing from new Nolan that's not pulling you there. Yes?
I don't think that it's necessarily him so much as it is just me and the entire theater experience. Like I was getting really back into going to the theater again and have my Regal Unlimited subscription. And like 3 of the last 4 movies I've been to, I thought to myself, shit, that was kind of a waste of my time. So I just canceled my Regal Unlimited subscription yesterday because I'm just back to the point now. Screw it. I'll wait the month before it hits home video.
Wow.
Yeah.
I understand.
When I walk out of an Indiana Jones movie angry that I just sat in an Indiana Jones movie, there's a freaking problem somewhere. Okay. But that's another story.
That's a whole other episode. I understand Benjamin's point, and I understand yours too. I do love Christopher Nolan, but I will say, and I think that this is why I, in our summer movie preview, I did not give Oppenheimer as much credit as apparently it deserves, because it's certainly making the money. And that is because the last couple, I haven't quite loved the way I did up until Interstellar. I even loved Interstellar. Like, I know that some people maybe aren't as hot on it, but I loved it. And so the entire Nolan filmography up through Interstellar and even Dark Knight Rises, I'm with you. I loved it. But I did not like Dunkirk. And Tenet, I was like, it was okay. And so I kind of understand Benjamin's point of like, the last couple haven't quite hit with me the way it did prior. And to your point, he's Christopher Nolan. He's kind of he's earned the right to do what he wants, and gets kind of free reign. And as he does that, they get longer, they might get more self-indulgent, and it might not work for everyone. He can do what he does. And then as movie fans, we can like it or not. But for Oppenheimer, I'm happy to watch it at home, and I hope that I do love it. Like I did some of his earlier stuff, but I do think post Rises, the last couple haven't quite hit for me in the same way.
I get it. That a lot of his movies, approach wise and everything else, are just different. In that, Dunkirk is probably my least favorite of his movies, and I still really like Dunkirk. Mm-hmm. And I loved Interstellar. I loved Inception. Obviously, all of you already know full well how I feel about the Dark Knight trilogy. I really like Insomnia. I love The Prestige. I think The Prestige is my favorite not Batman movie that he's ever done. So they're all so different in so many ways. I love Tenet. I thought Tenet was great. And when people started giving that blowback, I was like, I wonder what happened here. So I'm not really sure, but I feel like he doesn't ever want to do like the same thing twice. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't, like any filmmaker, he has a certain style or way that he does things that make it vaguely familiar, that it's him. Hitchcock even had that. Spielberg has that. Great filmmakers have traits and things that you recognize about them. But I don't feel like these filmmakers, the 3 that I just mentioned, who, by the way, would be 3 of my 4 on a Mount Rushmore of directors, I don't feel like they ever tend to repeat themselves. So trying to compare his old stuff to his new stuff, I get what you're saying about his ego being out of control or being self-indulgent. Like I understand that, but at the same time, I don't feel like there's 2 movies that he's done that I would ever mistake for each other. The closest thing would be the Dark Knight trilogy, and that's just because there are 3 movies telling one story. But I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles now, but
it's all right. Well, all right, there you go. Next message here is from Paul Shanley. It says, "Hey guys, Andy, first of all, I hope that things have settled down and you enjoyed the downtime, because mental health breaks are important. One of the things I liked about The Flash is how it embraced the variant action figure nature of Batman in a way that no other movie has. I love all the concept art and prop costumes that they came up with for Michael Keaton. That's why I don't really have a problem with Affleck's suit in the movie. It's clearly based on motorcycle equipment, and you can see the suit from Justice League under the plates that they added. While I would have preferred the regular suit, as it's the last time we will see him, I can headcanon it as something he throws on if he's going to be on the bat cycle and expecting a firefight. I know that the Pattinson suit didn't hit with you guys, and as we have a new iteration of Batman coming, it made me curious, what are you hoping for in terms of a costume? Any new elements you'd want them to incorporate, and how do you differentiate it from what's come before? I'd love to see something more comic accurate, like blue and gray with the yellow oval, and I'm intentionally stealing the easiest answer. It could be a fun idea for an episode. Thoughts, Paul? All right, Paul, thank you. I like your thinking with the Flash Batman costumes. And I completely agree. I love that vault with all of the Keaton costumes and the variations that he had over 30 years of being Batman. I think that's so cool. And same with the Affleck costume. Yes, would I prefer they just gone with the simple one for his send-off? Yes, but I still didn't have an issue with the one they used. I liked it. So what do you think, Jamie? Your wish for a new Batman costume for the DCU Batman that would set it apart and make it unique.
So we're talking DCU Batman, not the Pattinson sequel, because I apparently misunderstood that. I lean toward traditional just because I would rather that at least be the starting point for a new Batman. Guys, you've heard me say this so often. I am so freaking over the armored black Batman outfit now. I've seen it for almost 35 years now. More often than not, that's what I generally see. So I would like to have something a little bit more traditional. The plating and all that stuff, I just do away with it. Just have a fit guy in a tight costume with a cape and the cowl and some gauntlets and some boots and a belt and yellow oval bat. Very very traditional, very practical. Blue and gray would be ideal, but if they don't seem to ever want to do that for any extended period of time, something along the lines of the Affleck costume from BVS, where it's like black with the gray uniform, just less cladding and all that stuff. So very, very more something in a modern iteration of an Adam West costume would ideally be what I would choose if I was in charge, which I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all see eye to eye on it. And Paul, I'm sorry, it's essentially what you said is something a little more comic booky. I agree with you, Jamie, something that is a little more simplified. I think simple and sleek is something that we have not gotten in a bat costume in a long time. So I think that would set it apart on its own. But yeah, a little more color, a little more simplified, but still look like it could, offer some protection to Batman. I don't want it to be tights like Adam West. I mean, that worked for the TV show, but it still has to be somewhat functional and that it provides protection. So I think like almost sort of honestly, like kind of the Kevlar look of the Captain America suit in like the Winter Soldier, like that sort of material, but in a dark blue and a dark gray. Yes, yellow oval, but just a little more sleek, a little more simplified. Longer ears, scalloped cape, gold or yellow belt. Yeah, like that alone will make it very clear that this is a different Batman than Pattinson's.
And I feel like we're all in agreement on the main thing with this costume, and that is that it is mandatory that the trunks be on the outside.
Okay. I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
I feel like that look went away and people started making fun of it. But you know what? That's my preferred look. Superman, Batman. Let's get it done. Make it happen, James Gunn.
All right. We're going to do one more email here and then we're going to wrap up. This one comes from Sonia Gregory. It says, Dear Holy BatCast, we all know that The Flash didn't do well in theaters. So how many years do you think it will be before we can get another Flash movie? Sincerely, Sonia. Thank you, Sonia. What do you think, Jamie? How long before we see the Flash again?
I mean, see him? I think it's going to be quicker than y'all think, but another solo movie, just judging by the slate, the way that it's laid out now, we're 2 years away from Legacy, probably 3 years or so, give or take, assumptive from Batman Brave and the Bold. I would say probably in the 6-ish years territory for another solo film.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as seeing him, I would say probably within the next 3.
I think I agree with you. I think that we will see the character sooner than later, especially because James Gunn is building a new DC universe on film, and I think the Flash has to be a part of that. But we already know most of the slate for the next 5 years, and there's not a Flash movie in there. But there are plenty of other movies where he might pop up, where we can meet a new Flash. And so,
he has said that that's not the complete slate, though.
I know that's why I said most of.
Okay.
That's why I qualified it.
All
because
right.
yes, there are apparently things in there missing that we will learn about when the time comes. And so you never know. But yeah, I don't think a Flash solo film will happen over the next 5 or 6 years. To your point, Jamie, like what you said. But I do think that we will meet a new Flash sooner than that. And we talked about Nicholas Hoult in the past. He was up for Batman, he didn't get it. He was up for Superman, he didn't get it. Poor guy, just keeps missing out. And I know that Lex is on is a rumor for him, but I could see him as a new Flash.
He's still pretty young, isn't he? Probably in his early 30s.
Yeah, I want to see him as a hero. I just like Nicholas Hoult a lot, and so I want to see him as a hero. So I could see him as our new Flash. So yeah, we shall see. But I don't think Flash will be left in the dark for too long just because of the way this movie performed. Because as we've said in the past, there are a million reasons that the movie didn't do well, but I don't think any of them it is because people don't like the Flash as a character.
No.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, Jamie, because we got things to do, but it was good to be back. We got through most of the emails. The only ones that are left are kind of more, they're less about like questions for the show, and they're more like, direct type things. So yeah, I think we're good. But thanks for making the time this morning. Good to be back.
Yeah. A little bit of normalcy sprinkled back in here. It felt like it should, I guess.
Yeah. And when you guys are listening to this, it is August. So happy August. And we do have things coming. We did miss, with air quotes, we missed the 15th anniversary of The Dark Knight, but that doesn't mean we're not going to celebrate it. We are. So that'll probably be our next episode, as long as we can get schedules to align with Brendan. We'll do our celebration of The Dark Knight for 15 years, and then we've got Blue Beetle coming out. So guess what, Jamie? You got to go to the theater, go to see Blue Beetle. So yeah, we got some plans for August. So stick around. Make sure you stay subscribed, because new episodes will be coming. We're going to try to get back to our normal release schedule, especially because, God forbid, or God help us, I'm supposed to not travel for a while. So hopefully that stays true, and that way we can get back onto our normal rhythm.
Best of luck to you in that endeavor.
Yeah, no kidding. But anyway, Jamie, where can we find you? Not on here.
Letterboxd under my name, Jamie Drewley.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Letterboxd, because Scarathon is imminent, my friend.
Oh, we are, as of people listening to this, you're about 30 days away from the beginning of the RF4RM Scarathon, the annual spike in activity on the group where so many people that I don't even know who they are get involved in conversations, which is fine. But Scarathon is always my favorite time of the year in that group. So
I know. Hunter starting August 1st.
Yeah, but Hunter has a little bit of a different set of circumstances, so I get it.
That is true. Anyway, I already told you guys where to find me, but thank you as always for joining us. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. It is worth noting that I don't even know how many people still listen on Stitcher, but Stitcher's going away at the end of August. It's just disappearing. So if you're one of those people who listens on Stitcher, go subscribe elsewhere, Spotify or iTunes or wherever. Because I guess Stitcher is going to be a thing of the past very soon. So please make sure you do follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, so that way you never miss an episode. If you like the show, something else that you can do to support us is rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. We would love that. So please and thank you. Visit holybatcast.com, and again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, do some shopping, and use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. And we're out.
I'm tired. That was
I know.
a lot of effort for a Sunday morning that I'm not accustomed to because I had a month off.
Just an info dump. And yeah, and we're rusty, but it was all right. We managed to make it work.
Yeah, we came through like seasoned pros.
That's right. It's like riding a bike.
With less bruising.
Yeah.